Girivaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yachodanandana Braja Janarandana Yachodanandana Braja Janarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jayamadamadava Sandavihari Jayadamadava Sandavihari Gopishanavadava Shirivaradari Jaya Gopijanavadava Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Shila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Paravatikacharya Shuddha Shashri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Paravatikacharya Shuddha Shashri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Nitai Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 19, Text 18. Kritam eka tarenapi Dambhatyar uphayor api Patnyam kuryadanarhayam Patir etat samahitaha. Could you share the verse with us, Prabhu? Sorry, Prabhu, I don't know your name. What's your name? Thakur Murari. Okay, nice to meet you. Katame katarenapi Dambhatyar uphayor api Patnyam kuryadanarhayam Patir etat samahitaha. Katame katarenapi Dambhatyar uphayor api Patnyam kuryadanarhayam Patir etat samahitaha. Word for word, Kritam. Oh, sorry. It's been a while since I've been in class. You can repeat. Kritam ekatarinapi Dampatir ubhayorapi Patnyam kuryadanarhayam Patir etat samahitaha. Katame katarenapi Dambhatyorubhayorapi Patnyam kuryadanarhayam Patir etat samahitaha. Katame katarenapi Dambhatyorubhayorapi Patnyam kuryadanarhayam Patir etat samahitaha. Would anyone online like to recite the verse?
Kritam eka tarenapi
Katame katarenapi
Dampatyor uvayor api
Dambhatyorubhayorapi
Patyam kuryad anarhayam
Patnyam kuryadanarhayam
Patir etat samadhitaha.
Patir etat samahitaha. Thank you, Prabhu. Anyone else? Okay. Kritam executed. Ekaterina by one. Api even. Dampatyo of the wife and husband. Upayo of both. Api still. Patnyam when the wife. Kuryat he should execute. Anarhayam is unable. Patihi the husband. Etat this. Samahitaha with attention. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: between the husband and wife, one person is sufficient to execute this devotional service. Because of their good relationship, both of them will enjoy the result. Therefore, if the wife is unable to execute this process, the husband should carefully do so, and the faithful wife will share the result. Purport: the relationship between husband and wife is firmly established when the wife is faithful when the wife is faithful and the husband is sincere. Then even if the wife, being weaker, is unable to execute devotional service with her husband, if she is chaste and sincere, she shares half of her husband's activities. Om Gana Tamanandasya Ganandana Shalakaya Chakshar Anmalitamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so I don't really remember this chapter to be honest from when I read it before, and I have attending a lot of the classes here. But yeah, I vaguely remember. Does anybody, can one of you, Prabhu's pop quiz, tell me what's been happening?
Okay, so Gita,
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Gita, Shubhansu, we are asking the Gita. So, Kasha Hamudi, and has given out some things to do. So it's a combination of words. This part, I say, how would you go it's actually? So,
Yeah.
when you say that. So, you say, from you say, why I'm fun because you know, Spanish, engage in the book and service, and you might support thinking and say, this thinking and the shared results. Conversing the environment, you know, is engaged and it. So it's like a shared experience. It was one of those emotional circumstances to do. You chase it, then she gets it.
Well, thank you so much. That was a great recap. Yes, I remember that it was a prescribed yajna. So is yeah, well, it is a sacrifice. So is prescribed to DT, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't know so much about, I mean, I'm learning about, all the intricacies and duties and everything of the Grihastha ashram, and this chapter seems to speak about it a lot. And then in this purport, we're hearing, if basically the husband and the wife both share once their union has been sanctified by one of the samskaras, then essentially both parties will reap the benefits of whatever devotional service even the other person does. So it's like it's all the austerities, the sacrifice, the service for Krishna is in one pot, and they both share. And it's quite nice, like we can even see out if we zoom out from just the Grihastha relationship, like so many devotees are living here in the Dom. And so it's like a bigger family where everybody's trying to cooperate in order to serve the Lord. And so it might feel sometimes like, oh, I'm just doing a small service. I'm just washing the pots. I'm just watering the seedlings. I'm just doing this. I'm just doing that. I'm just, I don't know, cleaning the milk tank or something like that. But actually, because everybody's operating as one unit, all the services like going into one pot, and then everybody's reaping the benefits, even if it seems like, oh, one devotee service is quote unquote small and another is very big, like, managing the whole place or a whole community, or somebody's a very big Sankirtan star or big kirtanier. And then somebody else is just, chopping the vegetables. But service is absolute. So, Krishna is not looking and making some distinctions that, oh, because this person's has a bigger audience or seeming bigger influence or bigger book score or whatever it might be, that then they're more qualified to go back to Godhead than somebody that's folding the laundry, or yeah, ironing the dhotis or whatever it might be. So that it's very profound and very interesting, and it's hard. It can be hard because a lot of times, at least I know myself, apply some material vision to the situation that one devotee is better or one devotee's service is more important, or something like that. But at least something that I've been trying to do for myself is to try to not see the devotees with my external vision and my limited sense perception, because at the end of the day, like Krishna wants the juiciest thing, which is actually the heart of that devotee. And I've been staying with Mother Yashoda recently while I'm here, and I just felt so inspired by her because I mean I didn't, I haven't known her over the decades, but I lived at Gita Nagari for a bit, and I was like, oh, I didn't really get to see her much, or didn't see what an amazing devotee. I mean, I could see from afar what an amazing devotee is, but I didn't have much intimate realization. And then just by staying with her, I'm like, wow, she's such a seemingly like low key devotee, like very, she's not like up here leading like gigantic kirtans or anything like that. But just like the depth of her realization and the service that she is doing and the steadiness and so many devotees that she's supporting, and just how her home is such a welcoming place for devotees. And even with this intern that she has, just the way that she is preaching to that intern, but in a very real and accessible, yet also very deep way. And I'm like, the way that she's able to do that is because this intern feels so at ease and relaxed with her, and she just creates such a warm atmosphere that then, and of course Prasad also helps, that then it becomes easy to hear. And of course also, Yashodamani's her dedication to her spiritual master, and just the mission of Srila Prabhupada. So all these things are combining, and she has such a profound impact. So yeah, we can't judge devotees like externally, although our limited senses might want to. But Krishna is really after the heart. And so whatever service we're doing, whether it is folding the laundry or washing the pots or chopping the vegetables or milking the cows, managing, leading some huge programs, Krishna, he even says in Bhagavad Gita too, that in essence, he's not just looking for the external results. In fact, we should try our best, but be detached from the external results. And then that is corroborated with the fact that Krishna is just simply looking for, again, what was the intent, what was in the heart, how much was I just thinking of, I'm gonna look so good when I do this, or I'm the best at cutting these carrots into like the perfect tiny cubes, and all the other Prabhus just they don't do it the same. Or am I thinking, how can I do this service in a way that's actually going to please the devotees and please Krishna? And if we have that mood in our heart, then one thing is Krishna finds it very tasty, and then another thing is Krishna will empower us to do a very nice job. I've even noticed with cooking that, yeah, it's so obvious to me that where my consciousness is at, the prasad will turn out um, a certain way. So if I'm really not into it, or I'm just having a day that I'm not really taking shelter of, praying before I cook, and praying when I'm doing the offering, and praying to Radharani before I start and during the offering, the prasad is going to turn out completely differently, almost like it's like a little bit stale, versus if one, even if it feels mechanical at times, is still seeking the blessings, specifically when we cook, of Radharani, to be able to, and the spiritual master, to be able to make a nice offering. I find that even if it feels a little bit mechanical that day, still just by dint of her and, the spiritual master's potency, like carrying us along, then the prasad turns out much nicer. So even sometimes I taste it, I'm surprised. I'm like, man, I don't know where my head was at today, but I think just the fact that I at least attempted to seek some mercy, then it will turn out very nicely. So I'm going to read this verse one more time. Between the husband and wife, one person is sufficient to execute this devotional service. Because of their good relationship, both of them will enjoy the result. Therefore, if the wife is unable to execute this process, the husband should carefully do so, and the faithful wife, will share the result. So again, going back to how this applies in a wider sense, that we're really, I know people say this often, and I never really got it, but at least it's sinking in somewhat that we're really mercy cases. So I've realized over the past year more and more that how dependent I am on the association of devotees and the mercy of the devotees, which can sound like just a slogan, or maybe at first it does feel like a bit of a slogan, but yeah, just the association of devotees is all valuable. I remember there's a devotee in New Zealand named Ram Dass, who we often quote, me and Madhupan Leela often quote from his classes. But he gives fantastic Bhagavatam classes, and he would always say this thing. He said, piggybacking is all valuable. And so, such a humble devotee too, but he's been practicing many years. And so his point was that, okay, well, how is he being carried along? How is he still, he's working, but he's reading, in the Grihastha ashram, and he's reading Bhagavatam every day. And I think he said at one point, like even in Grihastha, even whenever he made the transition from Brahmacharya to the Grihastha ashram, he never read less than an hour and a half every day. And I was like, wow, that's so inspiring. That's so amazing. And I would love to be able to take after that. And then he in the same class, he was just saying that, he's really being carried on along by his association. And at first I was like, oh, he's just being humble. But then I would see he would be at Krishna food, rolling because he worked there, and he'd be rolling the samosas or just doing some kind of like repetitive task. But he'd be on the phone with one of his mentors and godbrother, and they'd be reading Bhagavatam together, and he'd just be relishing it like anything. I mean, he was like, they were reading the first canto, and he'd be cracking up, or just like they just keep reading the same sentence over and over again. So he was so relishing it and so taking shelter of it. And I will never forget that, just seeing like a devotee that's been practicing for so many decades. And he was also going through like a pretty, I mean, it was a public situation, but it was like a pretty intensely purifying situation. And I could just so palpably see and feel, and from his classes, like he was always eager to give Bhagavatam class because he had that Bhagavatam 1.1, and he would just be reading it over and over. And he's like, are you guys like reading the same thing I'm reading? This is so incredible. And you could see Krishna was reciprocating with him in real time. He was getting such deep realizations because he's trying to take shelter in, amidst these material miseries. So yeah, I'll never forget that. And I'll never forget that he said that point over and over, that piggybacking is all valuable, that, we just rely on devotees. And I've spoken about that with reading. I think Dasya, I don't know if I was giving class or he was giving class, and he was asking one time about, basically the point is that sometimes it can be difficult, like to read or keep it up, especially if you're not living in maybe like a typical ashram setting. Um, And so yeah, he did ask me. And so I was just like, well, something I've been doing recently, because I was also inspired by Ram Dass, is that I just ask the devotees to read, because if I'm just relying on my own mind to take shelter of the Bhagavatam, it's going to think of so many other things to do. But if you have a plan with a devotee, or if you're just falling into like, oh, the temptation, like I just want to scroll or something like that, then just calling up a devotee and being like, hey, I don't know what you're doing right now, but either can we read together, or while you're doing something, can I read Bhagavatam to you? And even just having somebody to listen, like even if that devotee and you aren't reading back and forth, I found it's a very powerful way, one, for the mind to stay engaged, and you'll also get, because you're sharing it even with one other devotee, that sankirtan, and it becomes so relishable, and you get so many realizations just from that act alone. So that's another example of this piggybacking, and basically being dependent on the other devotees, just like this verse is saying. And then in so many other ways, we are dependent. I've also been reflecting on how deep and important and impactful Rupa Goswami's instruction to reveal the mind in confidence and have the mind revealed to you is yeah, it's just it really bonds devotee. Of course, all the loving exchanges really bond the devotees, but that's another way in which we're very dependent on devotees because we have to reveal our minds to someone. And as soon as you reveal your mind or open yourself up to advice, you're basically cracking open your heart. So that's why, one of the where is it? Is it in the oh, there you go. Is it also in Nectar of Instruction that it's like how do you say asat sango tiaga? That the first, or it's in the CC, that the first symptom of the devotee is that they don't take materialistic association. And so a lot of devotees will ask, okay, and I've heard many devotees ask His Holiness Devaramita Swami, what if we're working? Or, I mean, also, what if you're going on and saying kirtan or you're hosting retreats or like how is that not association with non-devotees? But the differentiating factor is that you're not revealing, the innermost core of your hearts and the things you're, excuse me, struggling with. And you're basically not cracking open your heart to those people. So you're associating with them to give them Krishna, or at least, if you're working alongside them, that you can give them Krishna maybe in a more subtle way that, oh, even I've heard like devotees just by their example, or they bring prasad to lunch every day and their coworkers are they're like, why do you always have good food? What is that? And so even by that, like Krishna notes that little attraction. They're like, oh, they don't even know it's prasad, but they're attracted to prasad. So, but yeah, we give Krishna, we don't get their advice on if we're having any difficulties or challenges. So we reveal the mind to the devotees and we piggyback in that way. And then even like other activities like sadhana, chanting japa. I was thinking how much easier it is to chant japa in the temple room with the devotees in front of Tulsi Devi, because you just have the combined power and the shakti of so many devotees chanting together. Similarly with Sankirtan, like I think Mangalarti and I were just speaking about that actually it takes, it's not whenever Prabhupada, I mean, there are some enclaves of devotees like this, but it's not like when Prabhupada was, uh, physically on the planet that all the devotees pretty practically are going on and saying kirtan, and you have that combined shakti. It's like a force that's moving. It's the Krishna consciousness movement. And nowadays, if you want to go out on book distribution, it's really, I mean, by yourself, it's definitely an effort. And then you really have to put in some more work and some more energy to find other devotees that want to do it with you, set up if you need like permits or book table, get the books, figure out if the temple will order the books for you or how you're going to order them from the BPT. So it's all like you pretty much have to use a lot of energy to get everything together so that you can go out on book distribution. But even if you have one other devotee involved, even like I've been going out and I text Mangalarti and then she'll come for like 5 minutes or something like that. And even that, it just gives you such a boost. And or they're going out and then they text you. And I remember one day I'm like, I'm so tired, Mangalarti, I just need to rest. And she's like, well, just come. I think James was there too. Just come and it'll just be, 15 minutes or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'll just touch the pavement, practically crawling out just to touch the pavement. But just by their Shakti and they had already started the momentum and the force headed in that direction. So then it's easy to just piggyback off of that. So if you take anything from this class today, this unprepared class, then it would be that quote from Ram Dass that piggybacking is all valuable. And I encourage everyone to find one devotee today you can piggyback off of. So I'm just going to stop there and see if anybody, I really hope some devotees here have some additions or comments or questions. Shastakrit, do you have any realizations about piggybacking? You give them this. There we go. Sorry to make you come.
I was reading this quote by Vaisheshika Prabhu. He was saying how scrolling makes you dumb, and he was mentioning how, but if we read the Gita, that's Vedic intelligence. So when we are, say for example, we have like 2 minutes, and we're thinking, what can I really do spiritually in 2 minutes? But I can just scroll for 2 minutes. But then that turns into like 15 minutes. And then, but if we, even 2 minutes, we read Krishna's words, then that makes us intelligent. And that association, which, the words of Krishna is non-different from Krishna. So even that few minutes of association with the Supreme Personality Godhead coming through the parampara, um, it's like they call it like you're like gap rich. Even if you have like a small gap,
Rich.
yeah, like you have a minute and then it all adds up. Like I noticed that myself. I just play like 15 minutes and then I pause and play a class like that. At the end of the day, I heard a whole talk by Guru Maharaj, which is like a little over an hour. But it didn't look like. But sometimes I have to go back and hear it because doing things. But yeah, it's the choice. Like you always have to having to keep choosing. Like Krishna, it's mentioned even at the time of death. Krishna is on the right ear and Maya is on the left ear. So we have the choice who we're going to listen to. So it all takes practice and it all accumulated. Krishna is the example of Ramdas Prabhu. We were in the ashram together. So thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, it's a nice point. And while you were speaking about that, like doing kind of these micro habits and reading in between things. I remember being in the car, Naveen and Nirada Prabhu came to visit us at Mantra Lounge. And I remember being so struck by that he would just between things, he'd always like pull up right on his phone some Shastra and would just be reading. And at the time I was like, doesn't he want to talk to us? Like we're in the car or something. And then I just over time it really sunk in. I'm like, wow, this is Krishna consciousness. This is how to live. Is this all your micro habits add up that he's like, okay, I have a free, because he was doing books with us and going here and going there. And so sometimes like I just want to relax and just like drown out my mind in between things. But he was just I think Vaishesha Guru has those he has his flashcards too, for learning verses. I'm like, that's also a great one just between things. So thank you for the point. You have something? You look like you have something.
Yeah, I have reflection based on what you're talking about with the externalities of Krishna consciousness. I remember last year during the BMS retreat, I was given the service to like help arrange like 200 chairs or something like this. And I was just dreading this whole entire thing. It was hot and I didn't want to stack these chairs. And I was like, why am I doing this? But then when the retreat actually happened and you could see all the devotees, after a long just day of activities, being able to like rest under the tent and, just recoup themselves to go back and do some more devotional service. It was really great to see. And that kind of like satisfied me. Kind of that's what came to mind when you're talking about these externalities are not really something that should be too much of a focus. So yeah, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. That was a really good example. I was like, that one might top in terms of seemingly repetitive activities, that one might top dropping vegetables is like how many chairs can you stack? Prabhu, did you have anything? Here, I'll give you this so the devotees online can hear. Oh.
I don't know my voice. Hold up. So in terms of the specific verse, since it's a continuation of a number of processes. So we see where specifically where the husband and the wife in terms of the contribution, but as you said, on a wider level, yeah, each of us in the movement has a job, different responsibilities, some more, some less, but each contribution, does something for the continuation of the movement. So for example, services, like the bones in the body, some bones have a heavier load, while other bones have a lighter load, but each has to contribute. And so the association, for non-devotees, we do have some kind of to associate, but in terms of we giving them the association rather than they giving us. Yes, because we want to be on friendly terms if we are to encourage others to join the movement. So there has to be some association. Or we giving them association rather than giving us. And then so we be in mind. So we're not necessarily looking friends, but we want to be on friendly terms so that, yes, because we want to encourage people to come to the movement. So each bit of service helps. But as for this specific verse, husband and wife, they complement each other. And as for the wider society, each contribution makes an impact on the movement. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. I really liked your example about the different bones of the body. Because yeah, even if your small toe is broken, you can definitely feel it. Might not be your spine, but still, it definitely makes an impact and makes things hard. It makes it harder to carry. And last, Bhagavatam. I wish we had a longer mic here.
Yeah, the verse says that the wife husband share the result. Thinking about Prabhupada's sister, how her husband wasn't very devotional.
Oh.
And you've heard of Pishima, I think.
Yeah, I've heard, but I don't remember reading about it.
I don't remember where I read it or heard it, but I believe he was like totally not devotional, doing all the wrong things. And she just tolerated and continued her practice and prayed to the deity and tolerated, continued her practice. And then one day he came crying to her, apologizing for, I guess, being so difficult, and ended up turning around and becoming devotionally inclined. So it seems it goes both ways, but it requires um, yeah, I suppose you just have to learn to tolerate, okay, this person's not there right now, but they're not, I can still do my practice. And through praying and doing all of this, they get the benefit and they can actually get saved, I suppose, like a real mercy case just by that association, that proximity. That's what I thought about.
Thanks. I also,
Don't take my word for it. Definitely look up this story.
I mean, I never, yeah, anyway, I can also look it up or you could send it. Yeah, I was just thinking about even right whenever I read this, the first thing that came to mind was about how I've heard Devamrita Swami say on different occasions that essentially he's trying to train both the men and the women to become strong. I mean, specifically, I was in the, ladies' Brahma training, whatever you want to call it, ashram. So he would make a point to us and the young men that he wants to train everybody to be strong in spiritual life because you don't know what's going to happen later. And in this day and age, um, I want to make any like super just stereotype statements, but basically, there are high divorce rates. There are like the husband could fall out of practice, the wife could fall out of practice. But if both of them are just trained to be independently strong and not just like 100% reliant on the other person, then whatever might happen, or the other person could die, like so many things could happen, then there's a higher chance that, come what may, they'll carry on with their spiritual practice. So yeah, I definitely feel blessed to have received that training and keep it in mind. I was going to say something else, but it just left my mind. So yeah, thank you very much for that point. Oh, that just yes, that they can really carry each other. I mean, there's even so many examples of yeah, like I remember in New Zealand at somebody's initiation, there was a husband and wife getting initiated together by Devamarita Swami, and he turned to the ladies and he said, because this Mataji had brought her husband to Krishna consciousness and now was marrying, like they weren't together. She like, I don't know, she met him on the street or the preaching center, and then she cultivated him, and then they got married. And so he looked at all the ladies and he was saying, so one option is you can find a devotee and marry them, or you can make your own. So yeah, I thought that was nice. Oh, Yashadev Prabhu, just saw your hand. Hare Krishna.
Haribol, Dinapal, thanks for a nice class and reminding us all of Ramdas Prabhu. I was also in the ashram with him for many years. I just wanted to share a little bit of his glory that he instituted this practice whereby we all had these digital Casio watches. And literally any time you were waiting for something, even if you're waiting for 30 seconds for the driver of the Sankirtan van to put on a seatbelt or something, you'd immediately open a book and put on the timer part of your Casio watch and read for 30 seconds. And this way he wanted all of us to get up to that 2 hours every single day with every spare moment. And it's amazing that Ramdas still has that practice to this day. Unfortunately, I don't have that same habit, but that he had that strong sadhana, like the line through stone. It's just remarkable. And I think that we should always remember these examples and see that it's possible. No matter what lifestyle you have, you can be hearing and chanting all the time. So thank you for bringing him up and sharing him. Thanks for the nice class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you for sharing that. And I just liked your comment. I piggybacked off him for many years. Does anybody else online have anything they would like to share? We have 4 minutes.
I have a little something. I was reading a lecture from Srila Prabhupada, speaking on the first canto, 15th chapter, text 30. This was given in Los Angeles in 1973. He was, well, let me read a little bit of this. He says, speaking about association with devotees, he says that the first thing is that you must believe that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes. And to keep this faith strong and going on, you must keep association with devotees. Otherwise, whatever little faith you've got, it will be lost. You become again under the clutches of Maya. Adau Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha. And if you actually associate with sadhu, then the next stage is bhajana kriya, initiation, how to worship Krishna. Then anartha nivritti syat. If you are actually engaged in devotional service, anartha, which are not required, these things will vanish. Just like we ask our students, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating. Simply by hearing, you cannot follow it. It is not possible. If you make bhajana kriya, if you're actually following, chanting 16 rounds, then you can follow the others. Otherwise, you are spiritually weak. You cannot. The government is spending so much money to stop this intoxication, LSD in your country. They're all failure. But here, with our association, a person can give up immediately. Just see how much the association is strong. Adao Shadha Tata Sadhu, Bhajana Kriya, Anarta. Anyway, he makes the point that in the association of devotees we gain strength, and that what is otherwise not possible becomes easily possible in the company of devotees. That the association of devotees has that powerful effect. We derive strength, and it reinforces our faith, and everything is based upon faith. In the absence of faith, you can't take even one step. So the association of devotees is extremely important. But how we associate with devotees is also very important. It can be good or it can be bad, depending upon how we conduct ourselves. You can get together with a devotee and just talk prajalpa, and it becomes destructive rather than beneficial. So we have to be careful. We have to honor one another, and conduct ourselves in a respectful manner in the association of devotees, and not contaminate other devotees with our nonsense. To stick strictly to speaking Krishna Katha and associating in a manner that is uplifting and purifying. Then the effect will be very, very nice. In general, the principle in association with devotees, the idea is that you seek out the association of more advanced devotees. There are a whole bunch of verses that talk about the benefits of the association of pure devotees. That even one moment's association, there's like 3 or 4 different verses that say the same thing. Even a moment's association is more valuable than anything. But it talks specifically about the advanced devotees or pure devotees. But devotees in general, their association is beneficial. It will always serve to reinforce faith and give one spiritual strength. We're out of time, aren't we?
Thank you. That was
Jai
very
Shri
nice.
Shri Radha Damodar. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.